the miyat to the miyat. What are we, 1% of the world? Whatever we are.
1/10 of 1%.
1/10 of the world. Wow, that's... Woo! Anyway, and even within that, right, those who are Makabel Torah in a strong way is 1/10 of 1% of that. So we're talking about a very, very, very small amount of Jews who are really, well, every Jew is great, but who's really on the path. And therefore, 99.9% of the world is going one way. Right? There's a few good ones, here and there, but we can't let the world trick us. And it's very difficult because 99.9% of the world is going away. And we know there's a concept, Acharei Rab Nahatos, where you go after the majority. Now, of course, that's talking about in Beis Din, it's talking about when things are emistic. But there is certainly a ruach. A person wants to be on the winning team. They want to be with the majority. But we have to be very careful because the majority, in general, is not what we're supposed to be following. So he said, Nachman said to be stark. Don't let the world trick you. Don't let the world trick you, make you make a mistake. He says, basically, there are no people who finish with all of their desires. They don't end well in this world. With everything they wanted. All the people that have been, even those who are fabulously wealthy, have everything seemingly that they want. The end is not good by them. Even those who seem like they have everything, many of them have mental illnesses. A lot of them have emotional problems. Some even have physical problems. You just don't know. So it looks like they have everything. But even of those, it's a miyat who actually are somewhat happy and not sick. And he says, Gam Dori Doros, Kilkul of Hasidim. And even if you have a person who has all the money in the world, and he's healthy mentally, and he's healthy physically, and he's healthy emotionally, his kids might not be, and his grandkids might not be, coming from, potentially from this wealth. So when you see these people, don't let them trick you. Because it's a miyat of a miyat of a miyat of a miyat. There's less than the 0.0001% of people who have everything in the world and are happy. So why is it, going back to the first part of the Torah, why would a person run after this where it's the potential is less than winning the lottery? To have all the money and be happy is less possible than winning the lottery. So what's the tachlis? Don't let the world trick you. The Iker Shlemus is really found, the real Shlemus, the real Simcha is really found in less Gashmis. There's a meaning called the Stapkas Bemuat, to be satisfied with less. We have to look at the world like golf. Right? You have the goal, you have the pin, and you want to get in the least amount of shots. Right? Imagine you take golf, you're like, oh, hitting the ball, okay, this is great. I'll hit the ball 1,000 times, because that's the game. I'll just keep hitting it. You're going to lose, right? When it comes to the Gashmias, we want to stop this more. We have the goal, meaning your necessity, and as little shots as possible to that goal. Meaning you need to live, so you need to eat a certain amount of food. You need a certain amount of money. As close to that number you can get without going over, then you're going to be happy. But the more shots you take, the more food you eat, the more sleep that you take, the more Gashmias, the less you really have. You're really losing. You're not winning, right? We know that. It's not better at the end of the day. The more Gashmias, it makes you end up being less. The Shlemus Adam we know is connecting when a person connects more to his spiritual side, more of his neshama, and the neshama doesn't need any of this stuff. It needs as much to allow the body to live. But if you continue to give it more, then you're taking away time from the neshama. If you give it what it needs, then the neshama can come out and can be happy. The neshama doesn't mean a person sitting around all day. The neshama means that a person is generally happy. The neshama is something that can even be excited for another person when that person does well. That's a trait that's very difficult, to be happy when someone else does well. That's because I'm on the Gashmis. And if he gets it, it's hard for me to be happy for him, because I want that. But that's because you think that the game is to get more and more and more. But if the game is to get just enough, once you get your quota, I can be happy for everybody. Right? That's the neshama coming out. There's many things that the neshama comes out. It's a certain inner peace. It's tranquility. The body's never tranquil. The body's only tranquil when you have so much, you can finally get a nice vacation and buy an island. But then when you're there, you're like worried, how am I going to do this again? What's going to be for my investments? What's going to be? You never really, it's very rare to even get that moment. But if you don't need so much and your stop gets more, you could sit in your house in Woodmere with your feet off on your carpet. You could be infinitely more happy than the guy sitting in Maui. It's possible, right? It's possible. So remember, play golf. Okay, let's go by there. So then Nachman says, even the goyim need to know this. This is not just a Jewish concept. The less gashmi says, the better. It's for the whole world. Since be'emes, the world really is nothing. It's not. You don't gain from all the gashmis. You do not gain. But what are they supposed to do? What are these goyim supposed to do? Right, a goy needs a certain merit from Shemayim to give him the knowledge. What should he do with his life? Because if you don't have some inner purpose, inner mission, something bigger, then what are they going to do with their life? Fantasy football all day? They're just going to go after the Gashmis. They're just going to go after whatever it looks shiny. That's what they do. So, but that's a waste. Even by the goyim, it's a waste because the whole world is nothing. So they need a special Sichos Haran to be able to find something to do and not waste their time on this stuff. However, he says, they need a Sichos to even know what to do with themselves. Ach Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, ain't Sichos. We don't need a Sichos from Shemayim. It's always nice to have a Sichos, but in this aspect of what do we do with ourselves? How do we not allow the world to trick us and to just run after Gashmis all day long in all the different avenues of Gashmis? He says, we have a Torah. And a Torah, you can learn the Torah. And you can do the mitzvahs of the Torah. And there's Pinim Yisat Torah. There's so much that a person can learn and connect to and do outside of the Gashmis. So therefore, we have what to do. We're not bound by fantasy football or whatever else people are, or the Super Bowl or whatever else people are just so obsessed with. Who was telling me? He was so... the guy was telling me, so the Super Bowl, yeah? And so I guess the quarterback who won, so they were interviewing him, this is what he tells me, and they say to him, so I don't remember exactly the question they asked. They said, like, how are you feeling right now? Like, how are you feeling right now? Something like that. He goes, I can't wait to come back next year to win it again. So my friend's like, you can't just enjoy the moment. You can't just enjoy, you have to always go to it has to be the next. Because when it comes to Gashmias, it's always the next.
And you see, like, I don't know, like the stereotypical, like the non-Jewish professional white couple, and they, like, when they retire, they travel a little bit, they spend time partying, and they're like, seem to be overall content.
I don't know. I don't talk to them.
When people retire,
One thing I think of, like, what?
when people retire, so the investment advisor, I see a lot of people retire, they exchange their job for going to doctors, doctor's appointments. It's crazy. They have a lot of free time. They go to the doctor. The doctor will find something wrong and make it the big thing. And medicine.
Listen, is it nobody? I don't think Rabbi Nachman says there's nobody that's content, but it's the vast majority is not content. There's always something. I don't know the numbers. I'm listening to Rabbi Nachman, but it's not. We don't. The point is, don't go after that which is probably not going to work. Go after that which will work, and that's the side of Torah. That's the side of Ruchnis. That's the side of spirituality, of the neshama, of being happy for the people.
It's also different though. They may be able to be content with nothing because they don't have that yearning worth searching itself.
Rabbi Nachman says not really, but or they pretend to be content. That's the thing. You never know. On the outside, everybody looks content, right? Everybody looks happy, but we have no idea what's going on inside the person, mentally, emotionally. You do.
It sounds like probably Guy in Rabbi Nachman's time was presented a lot differently than like in 2024.
Either way, I don't think it's kedai to follow their footsteps.
I'm not saying, I'm just trying to understand it.
The person has to just take a cheshbon of his own life and think about himself, his own life. What do I do that actually makes me truly happy? Truly happy. Not where do I get a certain pleasure, a little tiny from a little bit, but like a deep connection, a deep feeling of, I'm doing something in this world. Is it when he spends 6 hours, 10 hours at work? Now, if he's a doctor, he's helping people, maybe. Maybe. There are certain jobs that you can feel a certain inner mission accomplished, but not every job's like that. So does he come home after the day? I don't want to say anything. I'd say there's a lawyer maybe. You come home and feel like you're so content with reality, or do you feel like I made a parnasa for my family, which is very important. But when a person has a good davening, a person sits down, he comes to learning. There's something more to it. I hope. I don't know. Maybe not. And if a person a person should find, if he has to be at the job, find contentment. Rav Kook already says that anything that a person does in this world that helps settle the world, right? Even a lawyer is needed to help the world. If you're a legit lawyer, obviously, anything that's going to help the world settle the world, that's positive. It's a building block of the world. So it's good. The person shouldn't throw away what he's doing. Adrabah, find the ruchnis, the deeper aspect within the job that you're doing. See, a person gets a job, he's a whatever he is. I don't know, investment guy, an accountant. So for many people, they're just doing it because they need money. That's it. They need money. This is what they're good at. It makes a lot of money. So great. But there's more than meets the eye, even in a job. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants a person to get a job. Kodesh Baruch Hu, there are certain latent kochos that a person has. There are certain things that a person can do on the job. You can make another person feel good. You can help a person with whatever you do, a lawyer, an accountant. You can help people. Look for that. Look for that. What's deeper? You'll feel more of a contentment. I think. So Nachman says, the world says she'ein tzarich levakesh gedolos. The world says you don't need to seek greatness. I'm not sure what he's referring to. I don't know. But he says, Vani Omer, I say, she'tzarich davke levakesh gedolos. You should find gedolos. Levakesh ulechapes acher hatzadik hagodol b'yoser davke. You have to search and seek after the biggest tzaddik you can. So Nachman didn't say you should find your own greatness and become a chacham. Seek a tzaddik, a mentor, a guide, a Rebbe. That's who you should find, and that will help you. Rabbi Nachman says the Svarim already tell you that you should be seeking the best tzaddik. When it comes to Gashmis, we seek the best. When it comes to a doctor, you seek the best. But when it comes to Ruchnius, for some reason, we're content. Whatever we have, we have. It's like that. It's always like that. When it comes to Gashmis, most often, have to have the best. As much as we can handle money. Like, the best food that I can pay for. The best doctor that I can pay for. The best vacation that I could pay for. Right? Not everything is within our realm, our means. But whatever we can, we gotta get the best. When it comes to Ruchnius, so I daven a little bit, I learn a bissel, whoever the rabbi of my community, good. Why don't we seek greatness also in Ruchnius?
Because we don't know.
We don't know what? That there is more?
You know what the best steak is in the whole town. You don't know what the best davening looks like. You don't know who the best
right here.
is.
Well, but do you seek it out?
No.
But does a person even say to myself, is this the best? Is there better?
No, for sure. But I'm just saying, if you don't know, then you don't even know where to begin. One day you say, I want to. Like, I know a lot of older people that say, I'm interested in this. Like, I like what Rabbi Nachman has to say. But they have no idea who Rabbi Nachman is or how you can start. And so,
then they should seek it out if they're really interested. If it's truly a ratzon, a want. So then find out. Go ask somebody. Google him. Do something. When it comes to the Gashmis, they'll look up on whatever TripAdvisory, or they'll look up every single thing. They'll spend hours and hours. I've never seen Instagram, but Instagramming. I don't know what that is exactly, to be honest. But they'll look on hours of all this stuff. When it comes to Ruchnius, that's an interesting idea. Next, why don't you look into it? Why don't you look into this Rabbi Nachman person that everybody's like going crazy over? What is a good davening? How do I get that? Ask questions. Be mevakesh. That's my point. People get tingled, but then they don't. Because when it comes to Gashmius, You see, the whole shul is a lot about this. This inner pull, this inner desire, connection to Gashmias. We're willing to put more effort into it and less effort into the Ruchnis. You see, it's clear. Why don't we look for the best? Why don't we look for the best Shiur? What about the best Sefer? We just don't think about it. Why? Because we're not really, really plugged into it. We don't really have a Ratzon for the Ruchnis like we have for the Gashmis. That's what Rabbi Nachman's saying. We got to switch that. The Gashmis is really better than nothing. It's not going to give you all that contentment that you want. It's not going to give you the simcha. Take all that energy that you have that's called Ratzon. And everybody has Ratzon. Everybody's motivated to do. Take that and put that into the Ruchnis realm. Right? We should be spending our time, all the extra time, in Ruchnis. It doesn't mean having to sit just dafka and learning. But there's a lot more that we could be putting in. Right? Everybody knows that their davening could be better. Right? So what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? We stay in the same routine for 50 years. You come 2 minutes late for 50 years. Yeah, my davening's not good. Yeah, well then why don't you change something? How about you sit down with the Rebbe? Rebbe, how can I make my davening better? Why not?
How do you deal with the fact that if you chase something that's good, it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to wait. You chase something that's bad, but they're upon.
Yeah, it's okay. That's part of it. And Rabbi Nachman talks about that. At the beginning of Avodas Hashem, it's going to be hard. It's going to push you because since it's the real, it's the emes. It's gonna you have to work for it. It's like anything in life. When a person wants to become the CEO of the company, it doesn't just happen. He's got to grind it out for years. But for Gashmis, again, he's ready to grind it out for years. When it comes to the Ruchnis, he's not. It's not easy to learn. It's not easy to learn Gemara. It's not easy to learn Chumah. It's not really easy to learn anything. So when you're in school, you're forced to do it, so you do it a little bit. But after that, I gotta grind it out at the work. People don't grind it out when it comes to Ruchnis, because that's not where the Ratzon is. That's not where they think that everything is in the Gashmis. It's not. It's really not. It's a whole change. It doesn't just happen in a second. But if a person would slowly make the change, he'll taste the benefits. I've seen it. I've learned with people where they took off time and they put themselves into Ruchnis, whether it's davening and learning, and they start to sense so there's something different over here. There's really something different over here when you really put yourself into Ruchnis, real learning, real davening, amongst other things, real chesed. Not just, it's very important to give tzedakah and money, but sometimes some people put more of themselves into tzedakahs. They're ready to get hands on. They really go help. You go even visiting the sick. It's not so easy, and I'm not good at this myself. To go to a premiere, to go to visit the sick, to go to an old age home. Those who do that, go help kids those who put their bodies into those mitzvahs and chesed, they feel different. They feel different. It's very easy to just buy off them and make the chesed. Yes, it's like here, it's like here. And it's important. Of course, it's the mitzvah. But it's not, you're not putting yourself into it. As I say with anything, with davening, with learning, to put yourself into it. It takes time. It takes thinking. It takes seeking. It takes bakashas, and it takes davening to daven. It takes davening to learn. Asking the Rebbe. Again, when it comes to Gashmis, when it comes to an investment, you'll ask 1,000 people to find out if this investment's a good investment. You'll hock every guy up. Is this a good thing? What's the deal? When it comes to Ruchnis, if there's a Shiur, I'll go. If not, not. Why don't people ask? Why don't people ask for new things? The person says, "These Shiur." You ask a guy, "Why aren't you learning?" I don't enjoy these Shiurim that you're offered. So why don't you try to make a new one? Why don't you ask? Why don't you seek? Why don't you try to put something together? Whatever. Because you don't really want. The answer is you don't really want. Fine. But then you're going to miss out. You're missing out on life. You're missing out. Create something. Do something. Right? So we have to seek godless. Ukeneged atayvis. Now listen to this. Ukeneged atayvis hamatidim esadam. Be'emes ein nimsa shum tayva klal. So we have these taivas in this world that are match with us, that they burden us. Taiva, taivas achila, taivas shtia, taivas shena, sleeping, whatever it is. Right? We all know the concept of taivas. Things that we don't necessarily want to do. Usually a taiva could be for a good thing too. But generally we use the word for something that we don't want to do, whether it's usser, or it's not usser, but it's more than we need. So you have these taivas that burden us. Says Rabbi Nachman, be'emes ein nimtza shum taiva klal. There's not such thing as a taiva. Keep reading. Fascinating sentence. Ki achil v'shtiya, eating and drinking. Hu hachreich l'kiyam haguf. Eating and drinking is a need to keep the body alive. V'gam banim, and having children. Muchachim l'holim. It's imperative to have children, right? To give birth. There needs to be a certain act that one goes to do. He says, for a person, this is muchach. He has to do this. To procreate, to eat, and to drink. So he says, therefore, v'im kain, ain't shum taiva klal. Therefore, there's no taiva. What? What's he talking about? Rabbi Nachman talks, I could tell you 100 Torahs Rabbi Nachman talks about taivas achila. He used the word taivas achila. So what's the one over here? There's no taiva. Since your body needs it, it's not a taiva. What is it, a heter? Do whatever I want now? It's a valve. No? Go enjoy, fresh. Enjoy yourself.
Let's leave it here.
Yeah, we're done. Rak shetzrichim l'snag behem b'kedusha v'tahara. Right? Just need to deal with things in a way of kedusha and tahara, and purity and kedusha. There's no taivas. What does he mean by this? This can't be. What does he mean? What do you think?
As long as you're doing whatever that act is, the kedusha, then it's good.
But let's say the person is doing. He's talking about the
ideal.
He's talking about not just the ideal. He's talking about the approach, the perspective. What?
Is he saying logic? That I feel logic. It's not something that should be a type. It's there for a specific reason. Like your brain kind of.
But there is a type. But we know there are taivas. We know there are taivas.
But inherently isn't.
Okay, and therefore, what do we do with this?
We train, we wire your brain.
So it could be similar. This is what I'm thinking. I don't know. I wasn't there by the shmuz. We don't have any notes to explain a lot of these things. Right, with Rabbi Nachman, he says a lot of things you needed to try to your best to understand. I thought what he's saying, because he does speak about taivas achil. He does speak about it. To work on it, and it brings a person down, can mess up his mind. Taivas achil. Maybe. So here he's giving a shmuz from a place of asay tov, of positivity, of ruchnis. He's changing the perception, the way that we go about dealing with food, let's say. So you can have when we want to minimize, or we want to give a structure to something, right? To what we eat, right? We don't want to do too much and not too little. It needs a certain structure. So that's called gvura. Gvura is to make a foundation, right? It's called the tzimtzum. It's to make exact guidelines, right? Chesed is just hispashtus, just spreading out. And Gvura says, yeah, but let's not spread out too much, right? You can't give all your money. If one ani comes, just give him all your money. No, you got to give the guy whatever you give him. With some same the chesed. That's called Gvura. When it comes to certain things in this world, achila, shtiya, bia, whatever else in this world, a person has to have the proper amount. Not too little, not too much. Each thing is different. Each person's different. Each age, whatever it is. So we need to make this structure, which is a gvura, which is a din, which is a tzimtzum. How do you get there? How do we get to this? How do we get to this place? So you can have, there's two approaches. Anything more is bad. Stay away from excess. Right? You could have a gvura. Yira. Don't do this. Don't do that. Because that's going to get you to Gehenna. That's ulcer. That's just not. right? That's like more of like the Musar approach a little bit, right? Don't do, there's a lot of los ases. But there's a whole other way to get to that point. There's a asay tov, right? Eat and drink, you need it to live. Of course you need to live. Just, it's beneficial for you if you eat this amount, because that's what you need to live. Remember, stop because muad. And then it's like golf. And then try to get it in as little shots as you can. That's all you need. So to get to the din, to get to the gevura, there's two ways. There's the gevura way to get to the gevura, and then there's the chesed, the more positive way to get to the gevura. So here, of course, we're not going to talk about types of achila. Types of achila means you're drawn towards achila, you're too much, you're eating way too much. And that's bad, that's no good, and it's going to mess up your brain. And Rabbi Nachman even speaks like that in certain places. But here, he doesn't want to use that approach. Here, he's saying there's another whole way to look at it. It's more of a positive approach. Of course, we want you to only eat as much as you need. So there he's saying it in a way that there's no taivas. Really, eating and drinking is needed. And eat b'kedusha v'tahara. Everything's positive. Right? Keep it, maybe that's what he means. Keep it positive. And if you go too much, okay, no. Again, next time you go and eat, you need to eat and drink and try to do it b'kedusha v'tahara. It's the same thing as the parents saying, don't do this or try to only eat this amount. Sometimes the kids get it, sometimes they don't get it. You tell them again 1,000 times anyway. But is it better to beat the person over the head with it? Or is it better to love him into it? We want to make a gvura. We want a certain structure. Right? It's not a free-for-all. We're not saying, I love you so much, just eat whatever you want. There's no taivas, just fresh. That's not what we're saying. It's not what he says either. You should eat b'kedusha v'tahara. Of course you should eat b'kedusha v'tahara. Everything should be. But don't get into that negative headspace. Don't get into the ra, into the bad. Be more positive about it. Maybe that's what he means.
I thought you were going into like the direction that sometimes when we're in a difficult situation, if you want to, let's say, daven, you have to daven in an indirect way. Right? And so the same thing with if you want to get over a taiva, you have to do it in an indirect way. So you don't say you can't eat cake, but you eat cake, you have to eat it in this manner. And if you do it in that manner, you're going to end up not eating cake.
He says, but pointing out, there's no taiva club.
No, I know, but it just if you add boundaries in an indirect manner, you end up. If all of a sudden you start going on the Rambam diet, I don't know if you remember that, but like you set up these rules, like you don't drink at this time, you can eat at this time, separate your meals, whatever, but go for it. Once you're eating, it's all fair game, no type of. But just set up those boundaries, you're gonna end up not eating the same way, and you're gonna get over your desire. So it's kind of like an indirect way, but that's not what you're saying, right?
I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we could mix the two. But again, the way is a different way to look at it. When it comes to the gevura, the approach. Again, we need a gevura, but how did we get there? If you use the gevura approach, you better do it like this. You better be careful. Don't do that. That ends up a lot of times in anger and frustration, because that's a byproduct of gevura. A gevura gone bad is anger, is frustration, is fire. You yell at the person, why couldn't you listen to me? I told you already. Right? That's how you're trying to get the person to do what you want, and he doesn't do it, so then you come down hard. But if you come from a place of ahava, chesed, to get to the gevura, so let's say the person doesn't do it. You personally, you don't do what you wanted to do. So you're not going to yell and scream at yourself. Maybe a little bit disappointed in yourself, but it's not going to be as harsh. It'll be easier to get up and start again. People beat themselves up. You beat yourself up too many times, you're not even trying anymore. That's how it goes. The kid gets beat up by his parents too many times, he's not even trying. Why did he even try? So a person people don't realize how many times they beat themselves up over the years, especially because we were taught the negative type of approach. That's how most people are taught. That's the easier way. It's very easy to say, don't do that. Then let's do it up until this point. It's much easier to just say, don't do. Shabbat Gvura is the easiest. I like the Chazon Ish used to say that it's very easy to be a machmer, to be a mekel, to be lenient. It means you have to know a lot more. A machmer, don't do that. Don't move on Shabbos. Don't even move, and you'll be okay, right? Don't leave your room. It's very easy to say that, but to be able to live on Shabbos properly with cool that's already hard. And people want the easy way out, but that's not always the better way, right? So we need a balance of getting to this structure, but in a positive sense. Maybe that's what he means. I can't tell you for sure. Says Nachman, and the seichel of a person can stand up against all taivas. Right, the taivas he just said we don't have, but so I don't really chop everything how this all works. But let's say there is a taiva. Let's say there's an extra taiva, not the chilish tia, something that's not needed for the body. Whatever it is. He says your seichel really could stand up to any taiva. Or what's a taiva? Something that we desire, and in my head says don't do it, and my heart says yeah, but I want you to do it, and we end up doing it again and again. What happens is, really, your mind can really overpower your heart. Really can overpower your desire. Kodesh Baruch Hu yahav chachmasa l'chakim. Kodesh Baruch Hu give wisdom to those who are wise. Which itself has to be understood. He gives wisdom to those who are wise. Had the person get the first wisdom? But Kodesh Baruch Hu gives wisdom to those who are wise. That's what he says. Ki yesh l'kol echad chachma b'koach. Every person has a chachma b'koach. Here, b'koach means potential. Everybody has a latent potential, essential chachma that's hidden within him. Rak shetzrichen hotzia mikoach elapal. Body needs to take out that potential energy of wisdom and bring it out into reality, actualized wisdom. Ubezeh seichel levad. Listen to what he says. And this seichel levad sheish l'kol echad b'koach chachmasa. And every person with his seichel levad, with the power of his chachma. Dahainu, which chachma are we talking about over here? Because there's two chachmas. There's the original chachma a person has, and then there's that potential chachma. He says, Dahainu masha yeshlam etzem briyasa. The wisdom, the basic chachma that a person has. Milvad masha Hashem yisbarach mosif litin chachma l'chakimin. Without that extra chachma that a Kodesh Baruch Hu gives you, but koach chachmasa, with just that basic level, asher yotzer es ha'adam b'chachma, every single day, right? Hashem fashioned man with chachma, basic. Levad, with just that, yochel gam kein la'amud keneged ha'tayvos. Your basic brain could, if you wanted enough, could overpower your greatest type.
I think calling it the brain more like your what's on your heart.
Well, which part? He's talking about the brain. The taiva is really, let's say, what they'll say is the heart. But the brain, the chachma, can say, no, don't do that.
And that's the kind of the what we're tapping into when we're resisting the chachma.
You're tapping into chachma and maybe a little bit of ratzon. Yeah. See, I think, and there's ein davar omen b'fnei ratzon. There's nothing that stands in the way of a strong will. Why is it that we can't overcome certain taivas? It's really we don't want. Really, I want the taiva. But if a person really didn't want to, but emes, he's ready to be Moser Nefesh, he's ready to really put it all in, then his mind would be able to say, no, don't do that. It would be able to. But we don't always get to that place. That's a hard place to get to. But a question I'll ask you is that, so Rabbi Nachman just said that from the basic chachma that a person has, he could. It's not you can't just snap your fingers, as we know. He could overcome taivas. So what are you telling about this extra chachma that he started with? What's this yav chachmasa l'chakimin? This chachma that Hashem Yisbarach mosif litin chachma l'chakimin. Why is he telling about this extra layer of chachma if the point that he's trying to make is with the regular basic level of chachma? You know what I'm asking? Maybe. Again, I don't know. But what's this extra level of chachma, you think? What's this extra chachma that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives to a person? I don't even know. I'm not even sure. It's a certain inner understanding. I'll tell you that a person who learns Torah, but we'll go with Pnimius Torah. Pnimius Torah doesn't mean Arizal. It means deeper layers of Chassidus, Amkus of Machshava, could even be Maharal, Ramchal, deeper parts. There's a certain extra wisdom that these people have. That they're in tuned deeper. There's something more. They're tapping into a deeper place, which is of course connected more to the neshama than the guf. It's b'chal, not the guf. It's called the seichel. What is it? The Maharal says the seichel nifrad is a lashon. It's the nifshat. It's a separate type of brain. Most times our brain is very connected to the gashmis. Right? I need to eat. My brain thinks, when's my next lunch? Right? The brain's always connected to the rest of the body. But when a person enters into a higher type of thinking, it doesn't have to be with Pnimius Torah. It doesn't have to be. A person could meditate, but that's not so common. A person who enters into Pnimius Torah and he's not b'chlal dealing with gashmis. His brain is in a different place. It's in the inner world. It's in deeper layers of midos. It's in a Kodesh Baruch Hu in what he's doing, different hanagas, spheres, partzufim, different stuff. So when he's involved in that, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu allows him, gives him the chachma, he becomes separate from taivas. He doesn't have the same taivas. Taivas is when a person, taiva comes from the nefesh bahamis. We're talking about the lower level taivas. So as long as you're connected, if your brain is still connected to your body, which is nefesh bahamis, so then your brain is going to have to fight those battles. It could overcome every time, it could, but it's very, very difficult. So what Rabbi Nachman is saying, I think maybe he's adding that, but if a person would enter into the higher chachmas, which again could come from meditation, it could come from a person who's doing his b'yidus and sitting out in the forests, or it could come from a person who's very involved with Pnimius Torah, higher types of wisdom. He can then become his brain. In the upper half, we'll say, of his brain becomes separate from his body because it's involved in this not extraneous in a bad way, this higher level chachma. If that's where your mind is, it's disconnected more often than not to the body, the gashmis, the taivas. It's just not there. It's just not there. And therefore it's a certain segula, but it's not a segula, it's lomaisa. It's scientific, it's logical, it makes sense. If there would be a higher level to the brain, which is not connected to the lower half, kivyo, right? Kivu, then you just wouldn't be involved. You wouldn't be involved in types. You wouldn't even have such types. The people who are involved in Pnimius Torah, by large, are not interested in a lot of the narishkeit that people are into. Not every single case, but for a lot of times they're just in a different place. This stuff doesn't entice them because they're involved with something much, much higher. So a person who wants to work on taivas in general, it's kedai to enter into deeper parts of Torah. Even learning Rabbi Nachman, the kvias, not once a week necessarily, more than that, the kvias. Even learning Kedushas Levi, the kvias, higher parts. Even if it would be Vilna Gaon and the Ramchal, the Zohar or something, the kvias, it starts to take a person's mind to a different place. That's where he wants to be. He still has to live, he still has to be normal, he still has to eat. But he's not the same person. He's not desiring the same things that he used to desire. It's kedai to try. It's very, very kedai. This is one of the biggest problems that we're dealing with nowadays. That a person can't get into davening, he can't get into learning, he can't get into spirituality. What are these people talking about? Because all his brain is still stuck down below. With the same gashmis, the same stuff, never getting out of that cycle. How do you get out of that? Rabbi Nachman says, my brain's strong enough. It is, but who's doing that? Who's sitting and saying, I can overcome and I can... There's a few people, right? The few people who make it, then they make millions of dollars trying to convince everybody else that they could do it. Those people really can't do it. It's only like the 5 people in the world, Tony Robbins, So he did it. So he's making billions of dollars on people who can't do it. He means well. He's trying to get them there, and I'm sure there are people who do overcome. I'm sure there are, but most part, I don't think they are. It's very, very hard. But we have a zechiyah. We have the Torah. So Nachman said, I'm tying all the pieces back together. We have the Torah, and we pnimis the Torah, and we have texts and an ability in a way to get out of all this narishkeit, to elevate ourselves. It's kedai, very kedai. There's no excuses nowadays. There's every language you need to seek and you need to search. Oh, that's a great idea. Fine. Go for it. Make it happen. Oh, but I can't read. So try. Get a dictionary. You know what I mean? If your gosh was on the line, you'd figure it out. If you had to read a paper in Chinese to make the deal go, you'll find the Chinese dictionary, you'll find the Chinese man, you'll pay a Chinese tutor, you'll figure it out. You have to. When it comes to ruchnis, whatever. But if you understand that this is life, this is the way out, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? It's very good day. Very, very good day. I'm just here. All right. With this, I think we'll conclude. We'll continue with the more taiva talk next time. What happens if you already fall into the taivas? All right, Mitzvah Shem, I think.